What's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Thank you all for joining. Well, once again, today I'm joined by Robert Hangu. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Is it Hangu?
Yeah, Robert Hangu, it's the same.
Okay, cool, Hangu. So, Robert, where are you calling in from?
So I'm originally from Romania. Right now I'm based in Bali.
Right now you're in Bali. Cool. That's a country I haven't been to yet. It's on the list though. I've got a lot of places on my list. So, I like to have a bit of a process, but why don't you kick us off? Tell us a little bit about next ops or next operations. We'll keep it under like a couple of paragraphs for now, but promise we'll get back to it later on. But yeah, what do you guys do?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so we started in 2023 when generative AI started to have a boom. And the first thing basically I did was build let's say, a job board powered by AI that would find you the right jobs. And then uh, I also saw a big niche in marketing, a big need for marketing. So that was basically the next natural step. And soon it converted into doing voice automation. It was a time during 2023-24 when voice automation started to pick up, and it became really, really good, almost indistinguishable from human voice. And we then applied this to property management, especially homeowner association management and body corporates or strata management, depending on the geography.
Interesting. Cool. So you wrote your first program at 11, right? So what pulled you towards code that young, and what was the first thing you actually built?
This is a very cool question, and I always think back to this with joy. So actually, we had back in Romania, we had computer science really early in school, in middle school. It was fifth grade. And actually, at the beginning, I wasn't good at it at all, so I couldn't get it. Probably it was also because it was very dry. We used to write most of it on notepads. We wouldn't really program that much. But then we started to do some, let's say, basic computer graphics stuff in Pascal. I mean, this is maybe too technical, but I was really captured by this thing that you could make the computer produce different colors, shapes, animate them, make them move around. And I really got hooked with that. So every day I got home, I used to do these small programs, small animations, basic 2D animations, boxes, lines, that kind of stuff. And I was with it ever since. And then in high school, I got into the more theoretical stuff as I was growing up, algorithms, and then studying computer science later at uni was kind of the natural step. And that's how my career in tech began.
So you grew up in Romania, studied in Germany, built companies in London, and now run from Barcelona, right? So how did all that moving shape the way you think about work and risk?
It's a good question. As you rightly say, I left Romania to study in Germany. I studied computer science there. I then worked in big tech. I did an internship at Skype, Microsoft, and then worked at SAP, big tech. It was a good life, but I felt this wasn't for me. I wanted to build something on my own. And in the last half of my time there in big tech, I was always trying different side things, different business ideas. And the last one was an ordering app for restaurants. So I quit my job to pursue this full time. I had savings in the bank for roughly 14, 15 months. And more or less at the same time, I heard about an entrepreneur program, kind of like a venture accelerator in London called Ampler, and I applied. So I got into it, and then I moved to London. It was pretty much on short notice, I think, on 2 weeks. So I packed everything. I sold pretty much everything. I went there, which is where I met my business partner, and we started a logistics company for plumbers. We would deliver plumbing supplies via bike it's like a Deliveroo for plumbing parts. And we were backed by Antler and some other investors, but at some point after roughly 2 years, the money was running low, and we were also not the best fit in terms of character. We hadn't worked before, like we met on the program. So we decided to part ways, which is why I went to Barcelona, and yeah, the AI revolution started right then.
So you picked machine learning for your master's, is that right?
Correct,
And this
correct.
was before kind of like the AI hype cycle. So what were you seeing back then that most people were missing?
Yeah, good point. I think I was always fascinated by the way that artificial intelligence works, right? It's very much, it tries to copy nature in a way, it tries to copy biology in a way. And it does this surprisingly well. I think this is something that caught my attention back then, that you would have all these small bits and pieces that you put together in the millions, hundreds of millions, and you get them to have a system that actually looks like it thinks, even though it doesn't. It's just like a parrot that just repeats whatever you're saying. And I think this is something that caught my attention, but I haven't pursued it back then because AI back then wasn't as, let's say, fascinating, or let's say it wouldn't grab so much attention back then. It was very basic stuff, like for example, recommender systems for e-commerce, or detecting, I don't know, some like image detection, face detection. It wasn't universal as it is today. So this is why I went into doing something else for a few years in big tech. And then when generative AI came along, it was obvious to me. It was the stuff that basically everyone was waiting for, right? Like using your language to program the computer. And it was a no-brainer, basically.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago when everybody was just like talking about, oh, what's going to happen to truck drivers? Well, just get them to learn to program. Like that was the answer to everything in life. And even with my kids, I was like, okay, if you learn to program, you'll be good. And now it's like the complete opposite. It's like, oh, we don't need to learn how to speak computers' languages. They learned ours. Wonderful. But
Yeah, this is a very good point.
mm,
And something that comes to mind when you're saying this is, I was thinking about this the other day, that now the better you can write, the better you are with AI, right? So let's say writers are better. So if you can put your thoughts down on paper very clearly, and the better you can do that, the better you can structure your thoughts, right? The better you are with maneuvering AI and maneuvering computers, right? So we like ironically, as you have said as well, we now live in an era where it's not the tech people who will actually get to, let's say, command the machines in this sense. It will be, let's say, people who can actually write, people who have traditionally written their whole lives, let's say. Um, Obviously, computer programmers, or most of them, write less than maybe marketers, or maybe traditional writers, journalists, and so on. So clarity of thought is what matters more than tech knowledge. Just wanted to add that.
those who write, clarity of thought, structured thought, right? Those are all things I heard you say. Um, what about just quality of thought? Like, for example, they say 99 point something percent of our thoughts that we have today are the same as the ones we had yesterday, right? Like we're just these like meatballs of like just random thoughts, usually, trauma from childhood or worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, or like we're just having the same thoughts, right? But some people are able to quieten their mind and create new thoughts and create new thought patterns. So I'm just saying, and they might not even be writers, right? But those people, like I almost see AI can now structure, like I can give it gobbledygook, like just a brain dump, but it will figure out how to reorder it, right? but it's anyway, it's such a fascinating conversation. I mean, I don't know where I'm going with all this, but it's an interesting time to be alive. You're right, though. I think yeah, those who are good at programming may not command these machines. Like it's going to be something to do with thought. I just wonder if it's just structure and clarity, or if it's like just like the quality of it, right? Like if I can speak very very articulately about a rock that sits at the bottom of the ocean, who cares, right? But if I have a vision of going to Mars or something, right? Like, will I not be way more empowered to manifest that or something? You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah, I think there is truth to that. But if you do have this clarity of thought, but you miss, let's say, you miss important information to include in your communication with the AI, the AI might go off track and it might produce results you haven't thought about because you haven't specified um, some information. So, for example, if you assume something, but you don't specify to the AI, there is no way that the AI can know it. So, it's also, let's say, the completeness of thought. It's not only clarity, it's
right,
also completeness.
right,
So, the more you can, it's like, let's say, painting in a way, like you have to put every detail on the canvas, because if you don't put a detail on the canvas, the viewers of your painting, they won't know that that was in your thought, right? It's similar, and this is also why many AI users, be they casual or let's say professionals, they often say, "Oh, but the AI doesn't work for me," or they say, "I tried it and it doesn't work." And all they did was input a sentence, something like, I don't know, write an article about this and that, or something like that. But that's not enough. The more context you can give it, and the more domain knowledge you have, the better. It's almost like you could end up writing pages of prompts, pages, almost like a report or something, and then the AI would be like, would give you better results than anything else, right? So
yeah.
probably,
Even that, Robert. This weekend, I was talking to my buddy about how there's like I'm trying to build a life operating system right now, and I'm trying to give it as much information as possible, obviously. But my friend was saying how there's like a kind of it's like the law of diminishing return, meaning because of the context window, obviously, like if you go beyond like some capacity, obviously. Anyways, I digress. I feel like we could just geek out about this stuff. Let's keep
yeah.
going, yeah. So actually, you know what? Let's switch gears a little bit. But before we do that, you quit essentially a stable engineering job right before COVID to build Menu Buddy. What were you chasing, that the SAP check couldn't give you?
Yeah, many people ask me this, and I think it's what every entrepreneur wants to chase in a way. I mean, you either, let's say, how can I put it? You either are like this or not. It's not something you can learn, or you can, like, if you know, you know. So it was, I had the feeling that what I was building wasn't, it was like a sandcastle, right? So no matter how well the work that I did, no matter um, how good it was, I had the feeling it wasn't mine. It wouldn't compound. So I don't know if that makes sense. So I would get a paycheck, which was a very comfortable living. It was basically all these perks. I mean, probably you're familiar with them from big tech. I mean, it's a dream, right? It's a very, let's say, relatively easy life compared to entrepreneurship. Why would anybody say no to that, right? Obviously, but the feeling that it doesn't compound was very strong. It was stronger than the comfort, right? I had the feeling that if I would write something, I would build code, I would ship it, then right after that something new would come along, and I would have to do that, and I would have to do that. It was linear. It was there was no chance for it to build up and get a life of its own at some point. So I found that very empty in a way. So I thought, what can I do to build something that's my own, that I can, it's like a plant that you water every day and it grows and it's your plant, right? Whereas when you work for somebody, at least I had the feeling that it was like you get a small plant, you water it a little bit, it grows a bit, then it gets taken away and, let's say, planted into the garden, and then a new plant comes that's small again. So it's like you're always you're not advancing in any way in your life. In your eyes, your life experience doesn't progress in a way. It's like almost like you're walking on a treadmill in a way, and you're still
Yeah.
there, but yeah, this was it was more like an adventure feeling that was lacking.
Right. No, I hear you. So you got picked from what, like 3,000 applicants for the Antler London program, right? So what did that pressure cooker reveal about you as a founder, and something that maybe that you didn't know about yourself before?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I love this question. I think the hardest part were the first 1 or 2 weeks of the program. So once you got in, I think there were at most like 80, we were 80 or 81 participants in the program once we were selected from this pool that you mentioned. And you had about 1 or 2 weeks to pick a co-founder. Obviously, the program ran for 3 months, and you had, in theory, 3 months, but most people would form teams very early on. There were about not really 50-50 tech founders and non-tech founders. There were roughly, I think, a bit more non-tech founders than tech founders. So in this sense, everybody wanted to get a tech founder, right, or a tech co-founder. So the idea was to create groups of people with complementary skills, right? People who would align on their work, let's say work mode, on their character, but who would be very different in their skill set. So, for example, you would have a very good marketer work together with a great operations guy or girl, or you would have a great tech person work together with a great salesperson, for example. This was the point of the program, to create teams that can cover as much ground as they could with their complementary skills. I think the hardest part in that situation was, how do you quickly assess if you can work with somebody for many years to come in a few days, in a few hours even? Because you would talk with all these people, so they had rented an entire WeWork, a co-working space, and we would be there basically every day, all day, and they would organize some group exercises where you could get to know the other participants and see how they think and work on problems together. And obviously, you could also talk to them one on one. So I think the hardest part was getting to know, let's say, roughly about 60 people, so the non-tech people, 50 to 60 people in a week. And quickly assessing, okay, we could work together, we have separate skill sets, but same vision, same character, and so on. And it was super intense. And what did it reveal about myself? Probably that I was capable of a lot more than I thought. I think that was it, yeah.
So you've said that "we're fine" is the most expensive sentence in any service business. When did you first hear that phrase and realize it was the whole problem?
Good question. I think it is. It shows the general problem with new tech adoption, right? Because usually businesses, they run fine. If they hadn't run fine, they wouldn't exist today, right? Obviously, every business that exists today runs fine because they make money. They exist, they can pay the bills, they make a profit, Perfect. So then when a new technology comes along and solves a problem, makes something more efficient, well, things already are efficient. If they were inefficient, they wouldn't exist. Companies wouldn't exist. So companies are efficient that exist, right? The question is, do they want to become more efficient? And this comes down to each individual business owner or business owners, the type of the business. And depending on the industry, there are industries that are more that want to experiment more with new technologies, and others that are more on the conservative side, that want to just keep the business running and extract cash flow. So in the property management side and similar industries, for example, we've looked at clinics, we've looked at home services companies, roofing companies, construction contractors, and so on, wellness clinics. These are all companies that run fine in this sense. And we've heard this feedback a lot. They say, okay, thank you, but we're fine. And this has a lot to do with probably market education on the one hand, and the product positioning on the other hand. Because at the end of the day, do they need the software to survive? Do they need to do something more efficient? Maybe in the moment they don't. But probably in the future, if this tech will become ubiquitous, they will have to catch up. It's the classical crossing the chasm problem, where you have a small group of people who see actually how it can improve their business, making, let's say, coal operations cut costs by 50%, for example. And these are probably just a few, like 1%, 2%. In any industry, it has always happened. It was always like this throughout history. And with time, the others will catch up. And at some point, even those that are very conservative will see, okay, since everybody's doing it, and if I don't do it, I will fall behind. I will not be profitable anymore because profitability has shifted up. So your margin now needs to be, let's say, if you don't run as profitable as your competition will get your clients will shift. For example, in homeowner association management, which is the niche that we are serving, many calls are repetitive, and roughly 50 to 60% callers call and ask, what is my balance? How do I request resale documents? At the same time, some callers or other callers have serious questions, disputes, matters that require actual human reasoning behind them. But they have only one team. So the property management team has just one team. And this team is very well trained, and it needs to answer very basic questions most of the time, let's say 50 to 60% of the time, half of it. Now, you don't want this. So let's say somebody wants to ask for their balance, and they need then to wait in the queue because they get 100, 150 calls per day. Now, if your company has this innovation that doesn't have, where the homeowners don't have to wait, obviously you will get the clients from somebody who doesn't have it. So at some point, let's say the transition will happen. The question is when, and the question is how to get there.
Interesting. So tell me about the first property management firm or HOA that you worked with, right? Well, what did you see inside that office that, essentially became your thesis?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So in the beginning, we saw that property management as a whole had potential. And why did we pick them? Because they have a consistent inbound phone stream, because they work with these properties and they get questions from tenants, from homeowners. And within that niche, we found a company that did homeowner association management. And they were very proactive. They were the classical early adopter. Their team was looking for ways of improving their operations, not only call operations, basically everything. And when we first talked to them, they actually looked for marketing automation, how to get more clients. And it quickly became clear that with call automation, which was basically different, so we explored a couple of topics. They were very forward thinking, actually. We decided to go with the call automation part because it could relieve their team from these repetitive questions and basically have them be faster, less burned out or less tired in a way, so they could avoid burnout in that sense. And we decided to go for that. So you usually have this in early adopters who are very, so early adopters are very proactive. They like to think very creatively. And they ask you, can we do this? Can we do this? They're almost like co-innovators with you. They're almost, in a sense, they try to almost pull the ideas out of you as the innovation provider in a sense. So it was very productive in the sense that it was very productive to work with them in innovating in the space. Yeah.
You had something like two failed or pivoted, ventures before next operation. So what was the hardest lesson and the one that, still drives decisions today?
Yeah, good question. So there are so many moving factors. That's the point. So all these factors have to be aligned. For example, when we did the plumbing logistics company, when we delivered the parts, we found that it wasn't a burning issue. So plumbers they wouldn't necessarily want to order via WhatsApp and get the part delivered. They would usually go in the mornings. They would drop by the plumber's merchant, buy their equipment, and or buy the parts and move on and go to the site and like to the construction site. And they would also have a truck or like they would pack everything in it and have it there. It wasn't a burning problem, and it was very hard also to educate the market in a way. It just didn't work, and it it's similar. It's property management itself isn't easy. It's not trivial. It's also we're also trying to bring a new technology into a market that already runs well. In this case, the difference is that the market is a bit more forward. It is a bit more, let's say, receptive to tech. That's the difference. So in the last venture, nothing aligned. In this venture, let's say more parts align. So so the parts that need to align is the market readiness. The market has to know that, okay, tech can help me. The tech has to be ready. It must deliver on the promises. The tech must be ripe enough to be production ready. That's the point. And then finally, the distribution also must be, let's say, nailed. So you have to have a way to easily get to these, to your prospects in an easy way, in a cheap way. And when they're already aware of the problem, then you can open up a conversation and take it from there. And these three factors happen to be, let's say, better aligned in the current venture than in the past two ventures, where none of them were aligned. Plumbers, they didn't need instant delivery. And plumbers, I mean, it wasn't even a problem for them, right? So we cannot even speak about the fact that they weren't aware of it. So you cannot be aware of a problem that doesn't exist, right? So this is the difference. This is the difference.
You say that that AI doesn't create leverage, systems do, right? So when did that belief crystallize for you?
We saw this very much in the current the current homeowner association phone automation. When we first started with our current, let's say, flagship implementation, we saw that a lot of the knowledge was in the heads of the phone team. The phone team would get a question, and sometimes they would just know the protocol in their head. And the protocol would change dynamically. So a certain phone operator would, let's say, get better on the job, but they wouldn't document the learnings, right? They were discussed in the team, but they had a structured system in place of scripts, so a structured process of scripts for every situation. But in reality, for example, an initial hurdle was when we trained the AI with those scripts, it soon turned out that the reality was a bit different. So let me give you a real example. The AI would greet the caller with pretty much a, let's say, lengthy message. It would say, hello, I am your AI automation at this company. I'm new here, I'm an AI assistant. You can talk to a human whenever you want, just press 0, but give me a chance. What can I help you with? So it's a lengthy intro, right? In reality, the caller, as soon as they would hear hello, the caller would also respond with hello, so instant. But the tech isn't that fast. The tech cannot. So then the tech would stop and it would process for, let's say, half a second to a second, because it's not that fast, but it's as fast as it can be in 2026. And this would confuse the caller a bit. So the scripts had to be adapted. So point here being is, if your day-to-day process is different than what you have on file, so to speak, there's a bit of a, let's say, it's not in sync, it's not updated. So for AI adoption, the better your process is and the better it's documented, the easier it is to just, let's say, move it to the AI and let the AI do it, right? This is so you have to be very, let's say, ordered and very, let's say, systematic in a way.
So most agency founders are selling AI like a magic wand. You're selling it more like an operations upgrade. So when did you decide to position it differently?
I think this. I also love to say or call these agencies or service providers AI cowboys. So why did I call them like that? Because obviously there's a lot of hype around the technology, and obviously hype is important to raise awareness. But as with any new technology, the hype would go beyond what the tech can do, right? And then you see this in different industries, where basically AI, where the expectations are higher than what AI can do, and then when it falls short, people lose trust in AI. So this is why we decided to go with a very, let's say, very process heavy part of the business, if that makes sense, a very structured part that doesn't have too many moving parts. And we decided to go with voice automation because the voice quality and the speed and the reliability of the models in the back were all high enough to create proper conversations. And in this sense, you had a system that you trained with the scripts, and that would basically, if prompted correctly, would never deviate from those scripts. So you could basically have it sandboxed if you want this mental model. there would be no, let's say, moving parts. It wouldn't be, let's say, like image generation, where you could generate something like the degrees of variability would be very high. No, we wanted something that is very, let's say, in a way, dumb, but is dumb in a smart way, if that makes sense. So let's say the dumbest thing would be a voicemail responder or let's say, like a phone menu. But obviously, this is from the old generation, pre AI. But we want something just a bit better. So instead of having a phone menu or a decision tree, we have an AI that can actually answer stuff, but it answers stuff reliably. This is the hard part. And we found that this particular problem can be solved well by AI, in not in a fancy way, in a boring way, but people or businesses who want to deliver reliable services, they need to have boring AI because they need to have reliability. Just like you want an airplane to always take you from A to B without making loops in the air. You just want to go from A to B. I think that's an interesting parallel between what AI cowboys promise, which is the plane making loops, but it cannot do any loops like a passenger plane. But the reality is it can take you from A to B very reliably. I think this is where AI is currently, and I think everything that goes beyond being, let's say, repeatable in a, let's say, provable manner, that you evaluate it against quality criteria, everything that promises something beyond that, you should question it. So if an AI cowboy comes and says, we do this and that, you have to ask yourself, can I reliably test this if it works, I don't know, 90%, 90 times out of 100 or 95%, depending what your internal metrics are. If they cannot do this, they overpromised. If they can, then it's something worth thinking about, to like worth implementing.
So can you walk me through your AI call center, like what it actually does? Let's say, I don't know, on a busy Monday morning for a property manager, like can you give me like a real example?
Sure. So let's say on a busy Monday morning, let's say it's the busiest is between 11 and 1 or 2 p.m. A homeowner calls and wants to ask, what's my balance? Now they call, and the first thing that picks up is the AI automation. And it says, hi, I am this and that automation. We give them a name, for example, Pixel, our flagship AI. Hey, I'm Pixel. I'm the AI assistant of company. And how can I help you with today? Are you a homeowner? Do you want support, or do you want to help us manage your association? And then the caller says, yeah, I'm a homeowner. I want to ask about when my last payment went through. Okay, and then it says, okay, so let's authenticate you. Can you please tell me your name and your address and your community association? And then they say, okay, I'm Robert Hagu. I live in their street and their community association. Then the AI looks up their data and says, hey, Robert, we saw that your last payment has gone through successfully, and it was, let's just say, 3rd of May. Can I help you with anything else? And then maybe I say, yeah, can you also tell me what my balance is? And then the AI would look it up in the database, and it would say, hey, your balance is $550. How can I help you, or anything else? And I say, okay, no, thanks. That's it. Bye. And this call hasn't required any human touch. It was handled by the AI end to end. And in this case, the team didn't have to touch the call at all. And they get a nice call log in their property management system that this call has happened. And sometimes an action is required. Sometimes the team has to get back to them. And then the AI would say, hey, I cannot help you right now, but I will send an email to your community manager and we'll follow up with you. And then the team sees this in the CRM, they see a new entry and they see that they have to take an action. And then they will follow up or do what's required to get back to the caller. So this is what a busy Monday morning looks like.
So let's say you've got an HOA team running, 1-800 call minutes a month through your agents, right? What happens to that firm's front desk team? Do they get fired? Do they get promoted? Do they get redeployed?
No, so they don't get fired because they're, let's say, the reason why they were hired is to do, let's say, higher level work. They are trained professionals. They're not, let's say there's different tiers of call centers, and let's say it's not a generic call center. They're trained in specific, so in business specifics. They have to know how the internal operations work, the accounting, the legal practices, when to connect to whom, when to send out, let's say, when like what to do when somebody hasn't paid, and so on and so forth. So they are trained professionals. The problem is that it's a waste of their time if they answer, okay, what is your balance? It's like a database lookup in the PM, like property management system, the PMS. It's a waste of their time because they are there to solve, let's say, higher level problems, disputes, and so on. And if and when this front desk, the AI front desk, is being put in front of the team, it acts like a filter, right? If it's a very complex issue, the AI detects it and immediately forwards the call to the team. So the team is still there, but they handle higher level work faster, with higher quality, and they are less, let's say, the job is less, it's less repetitive in the sense that answering a repetitive question like what's my balance 15 times a day obviously is more frustrating than doing higher level work. And this is true for any job, not just property management or homeowner association management. So the team stays, but they have the possibility of moving faster, providing more quality service, higher quality service, and serve more community associations so they can scale without having to hire new headcount, which is a really, really good thing if you think about basically growing your business.
Your guarantee is quite bold, right? You say 15 new clients in 90 days or the firm doesn't pay. How do you back that up?
Yeah, so that part was, let's say, or that is specifically for. So there's two types of phone automations, right? There's let's say phone automation that answers new clients when they call you. For example, you're a clinic. Let's say you're a dentist or a wellness clinic, and if somebody calls and you're busy, you cannot answer that call unless you have a front desk, or unless you have a front desk and they are not busy, because the front desk might be busy with somebody who is just coming in through the door and you have to attend them. And in that case, if you miss the call, you might miss a new patient. And the patient, if you had not missed them, maybe they would come various times. So their, let's say, lifetime value isn't just one visit, it's maybe various visits per year. And by having a phone automation in place, you can catch these leads that would otherwise call somebody else, right? So for example, let's say you want to look for a doctor and you check Google Maps or your local directory, and you just call them. And if they don't answer, you don't wait for an hour and call again. You just go to the next in the list and then to the next in the list, right? Maybe you come back at some point to the first, but maybe not. Maybe the third one has answered and has made a pretty solid impression on you, and then you decide to book an appointment there. Now, the first one maybe has a better quality service or not, but if they do, they have lost you as a client because you will probably continue with the third doctor after the first visit. People tend to change trusted service providers very, very, let's say, rarely, right? So once a client is lost in this situation, yeah, they're lost. And this is also true for home services companies and other companies that rely on inbound, on new clients who come through inbound. Not to speak of the ad spend that they had, and that is then wasted. So basically, this promise is based on the inbound flow that comes in, and is based on what percentage they roughly miss during the day and out of hours as well, which is also a big thing. Most clinics, for example, have a voicemail during out of hours, and those who don't, those that have automated call responders, like an AI agent, for example, yeah, they get the meeting booked right away. So that's where this framing comes from.
Robert, thank you so much. Help me land the plane. Maybe one last question. So if you fast forward 5 years, what does a property management firm or an HOA look like? And how many humans on the front desk? How many agents? And what are each actually doing?
Yeah, very, very good one. So I think the tech, and I mean, this is basically how technology evolves. It's getting better and better. So it's it gets faster, it gets more reliable, and it gets more human-like. Plus, it gets smarter. It can do more things. Now, if you take this into consideration, you could argue that it can do more higher level tasks as time progresses. So you can run homeowner association management very, very lean, with very few teams, so very few team members. So I can see new property management and homeowner association management companies pop up who are already, or so I can see this coming, that these new companies will be AI native. So they will probably be run by a handful of people, two, three people. The same thing we see right now with coding companies, right? Like Lovable is a great example, or Cal.com. These are, let's say, a flagship examples of how AI can allow a very, very lean team to run a proper business, let's say proper operations, because they're leveraged through AI. This will, let's say, shift to local businesses, right? Businesses, not all local businesses, obviously, because AI cannot replace your, it cannot fix your broken pipe yet, or it cannot, fix your teeth yet. But local businesses that deal with information, right? So homeowner association management is a good example. Real estate agents, realtors, these businesses that are local but are information based. And I can totally see this to be possible and coming, that you'll have new companies that will challenge the incumbents, that are AI based, very small teams, and yeah, the front desk will be completely AI based, no human touch required. This is what the future will probably look like, if not in 5 years, in 7, in 10.
Super interesting, very thoughtful. I mean, you guys have, yeah, I love a lot of those answers, almost all of them. So, Robert, thank you so much for your time. Wow, we have 25 people synced with us. Thank you all for tuning in. Robert, where do people learn more? Do you want to give them maybe the Next Top's website? And also, are you on LinkedIn mostly? Where do you share your thoughts and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my website is nextops.agency, and my social media is on LinkedIn. So you can go so LinkedIn/in/Robert Hangu. And you can also find me on YouTube, where it's a bit technical, but it's interesting. It's at Rob HNG ROB. So it's at ROBHNG. And you can also find me on X, which is Twitter, X, former Twitter. So X is X Twitter, pun intended. So it's Robert Hangu, no other signs or anything. X.com/Robert Hangu.
Excuse me, I just sneezed. Okay, thank you so much all for tuning in once again. And yeah, until next time. Robert, hang out for 1 minute. I'll just bring this stream to an end.
Thanks, everybody.